Hi, this is JCTA President Brent McKim with an update on House Bill 563. As the House Bill 563 passed out of committee yesterday, it did primarily three things. One, it established a task force to make recommendations for changes to the SEEK funding formula. This would almost certainly be bad for Jefferson County because in the end, most of the people making those recommendations would not be from Jefferson County, and 80% of the legislators voting on the recommendations would not be from Jefferson County. So it's almost certain that those funding recommendations would involve taking state resources and funding that currently come to Jefferson County and sending them to other places. So from our point of view, that provision was a very bad provision. Second provision in the bill is what some refer to as the open borders for school districts provision, which would require every school district by way of their school board to establish a policy for accepting students from surrounding or neighboring school districts. And if the students came to those school districts, their SEEK funding would follow the students. It would be up to the school district school board to establish those uniform policies for accepting students. There were a relatively small number of independent school districts that wanted those provisions. The vast majority of school districts did not want that provision in the bill. It's manageable in the sense that it's up to the school boards to establish those policies, but it's not an ideal provision, but it's manageable. The third provision, third main thing that the bill did was establish what it calls education opportunity accounts, where an individual could get a tax rebate of 95% of what they give to a C3 charity that grants education opportunity account grants to families with students. The way the bill passed out of committee, those only public school students attending public schools would be eligible for those education opportunity account grants. They could be used for supplemental services like tutoring, online supplemental education, and things like that. There are issues with how broadly the education service providers are defined in the bill. There are a number of concerns with that. And the bill capped the funding available that could be provided in the form of education opportunity accounts through this charitable giving to $25 million per year, and it's a hard cap. There was similar language in House Bill 149 that started at 25 million and could go up every year. This does not allow for the funding to go up every year. So although it's a bad provision from our point of view, it does not grow over time, which is better than growing over time. That's the way the bill was when it came out of committee. It went to the House floor. There were no less than 20 floor amendments filed for the bill, some positive and some negative. Not all of them were heard on the floor, but about half of them were. First, let's start with a couple positive floor amendments that were heard and passed. The very first floor amendment that was heard, House Floor Amendment 1, by State Representative Stephen Riley, a educator from South Central Kentucky, proposed to include in the bill full funding for all-day kindergarten. Currently, every school district in Kentucky is only funded as if their students go a half a day to kindergarten. And by providing for full funding for kindergarten, this would be a significant funding increase for every school district in the state of Kentucky. So that was a very positive amendment that passed. Another positive amendment that passed was a House floor amendment by State Representative Jason Nemes from Louisville, which proposed removing the SEEK funding task force that would have almost certainly led to reduced funding for Jefferson County Public Schools. That floor amendment by Representative Nemes passed and was a significant improvement to the bill. However, in securing the bill sponsor's agreement for that floor amendment. The downside of that was Representative Nemes was obligated or felt obligated anyway, to vote for the final package on the bill, which he did. So that part was not so good. But the floor amendment to remove the SEEK funding certainly was a positive floor amendment. On the other hand, there was in particular one very negative floor amendment, House Floor Amendment 20, the very last floor amendment by State Representative Jerry Miller, also from Louisville, which proposed to allow the funds in the education opportunity accounts to be used for private and religious school tuition in counties with a population of 150,000 or more, which would include Jefferson County, Fayette County, where Lexington is, and Kenton County in northern Kentucky. That floor amendment passed, and so the bill passed with the ability for the education opportunity account funds to be used for private and religious schools in Jefferson County, in Fayette County, and in Kenton County, based on their population. Of course, we see that as very problematic and inappropriate use of public funds for private and religious school purposes. That's how the bill passed out of the House. Now it goes to the Senate. The Senate could do nothing and the bill would die, and that would be the end of it. If the Senate passes the bill in its current form with no changes, then that creates a problem for the bill, because it only passed the House with a vote of 51 yes to 45 no. And because of the addition of the kindergarten funding for all-day kindergarten, that makes it a tax expenditure bill. It includes a tax expenditure in a short legislative session, and a tax expenditure bill in a short legislative session requires a 60% vote to pass, and it only passed 51 to 45 in the House, which is not a large enough vote to pass. So in all likelihood, if the Senate does pass the bill, they'll probably remove the all-day kindergarten funding and send it back to the House for concurrence without that funding. That would mean it would only take a simple majority vote in the House to pass the bill and not a 60% margin. However, if the Senate removes the all-day funding for kindergarten, it could be that that was what got some of the yes votes to yes, and some of the yes votes in the House could flip back to no votes. So it's not certain that all the 51 who voted yes with the all-day kindergarten funding would still vote yes without the kindergarten funding. So at this point, the final outcome of the bill is not certain, and we're recommending that every member contact their state representative and their state senator and ask them to vote no on House Bill 563 in whatever form it reaches them. So again, contact your state House representative and your state senator and ask them to vote no on House Bill 563. Thank you.